All right, let's dive into Tata Communications. We've got a ton of info here. Their Q3 FY25 reports, press releases, even their latest earnings call transcript.
Wow, like we're right there in their strategy meeting, huh?
Exactly. We're figuring out how this global digital giant is doing and, more importantly, where they're headed. Seems like they're shifting away from some things, going all in on AI.
Yeah, and seeing them transform from a traditional telecom company to, well, this major player in the digital world, it's fascinating,
Yeah,
especially considering, everything going on in the global economy right now.
for sure. So let's start with their financials. How's their health? At first glance, the numbers look, I don't know, pretty decent. 2.9% year-over-year revenue growth, hitting 5,798 crore. EBITDA margin's good, sitting at 20.4%, and their profit after tax PT is up 12.9% quarter over quarter, reaching 256.6 crore. But there's always a but, right? These figures, they don't include two of their subsidiaries, TCPSL and NetFoundry.
Right, right.
But before we get too excited, why'd they exclude those?
Well, it's strategic. They're selling off their entire stake in TCPSL, the payment solutions company, and exploring options for NetFoundry, which is their software-defined networking arm. So, like, maybe bringing in outside investors, potentially not having majority control anymore, kind of like a cleaning house a bit.
Interesting. So out with the old, in with the new. Is that what they're saying?
Pretty much. And by old, I mean assets they don't see as crucial anymore. They're even selling a land parcel. Should bring in about 850 crore, closing in Q4. These moves, along with, the PCPSL thing, it could really free up resources for their core businesses.
Makes sense, yeah. Like clearing the deck for a big Reno project. Which brings us to their AI investment. But hold on, let's look at their data revenue first. It's like the heart of their business right now. 6.2% year-over-year growth, reaching 4,903 crore. But what's even more interesting, I think, is their digital revenue growth, 10.2%, totaling 2,313 crore. Now, I'm sure some of our listeners are like, wait, what's the difference? Can you break that down for us?
Sure. So data revenue, that's everything related to transmitting data,
Yeah.
including, their traditional connectivity services, internet access and all that. Plus newer stuff like cloud connectivity, businesses accessing their data in the cloud. But digital revenue, that's more specific. It's the money coming from their newer digitally enabled services, the things they're betting on for the future.
Ah, so that's where all the exciting new stuff is happening. But didn't they also mention some challenges with their traditional business, core connectivity, I think they called it? Something about those international cable cuts?
Yeah, those cable cuts really messed things up a bit. Even though there was decent growth in core connectivity, they had to scramble win back customers after the repairs.
I remember that from the earnings call.
It just shows how fragile our global digital infrastructure is, right? Even something like a cable under the ocean.
It really makes you think, yeah. But let's get back to the positives. What about their next-gen connectivity, all that cloud, internet, and AI stuff? That seemed to be doing really well, right?
Oh, absolutely booming. They're clearly positioning themselves to take advantage of the whole cloud adoption boom. More businesses are moving to the cloud, using multiple providers like Amazon or Microsoft, and they need secure ways to connect and manage all that data across different environments. That's where Tata comes in. They've even got specific services for this, like ISO Hybrid WAN and ISO Multi-Cloud Connect.
So they're building the digital highways of the future, huh?
Precisely. A robust and intelligent infrastructure, ready for all this data we're generating every single day.
Now, I know we're both itching to get to AI, but can we touch on those other areas they're investing in? Cloud and security, Internet of Things, even media services. It seems like a lot. What's their strategy here?
It might seem scattered, but it's actually very deliberate. They call it deeper with fewer. They're not trying to be everything to everyone. Instead, they're choosing specific areas where they can really excel, provide deep expertise.
So quality over quantity, huh?
Exactly. And it's working, especially in cloud and security. They've highlighted their security offerings as a major growth driver. They're even partnering with, like, Jaguar Land Rover, providing connectivity for their electric SUV platform, using their Internet of Things expertise. And they just secured a multi-million-dollar deal with a media tech company in Latin America. So they're thinking globally, strategically.
Wow, so they're not just building highways, they're creating entire digital ecosystems. That's
Yeah.
impressive. Okay, I think we've laid enough groundwork. Ready to dive into the world of AI and see how Tata's shaping the future with it?
Oh, absolutely. Let's get into it.
All right, AI time. Tata's making some bold moves here. They're talking about an interaction fabric, and they launched this platform, Kalera.ai, all about transforming how we interact with companies using AI. Now, interaction fabric, that sounds like something out of Star Trek, but can you explain what it is and why Tata thinks it's such a big deal?
Imagine never waiting on hold for customer service again. Instead of those frustrating menus and long waits, you're instantly connected with an AI-powered chatbot or, a virtual assistant. It understands your needs, answers questions, maybe even solves problems right there. That's the interaction fabric, making communication more efficient, personalized, and a lot less frustrating.
So, streamlining customer interactions, maybe even getting rid of those press one for menus, I can definitely get behind that. But didn't the CEO mention adoption might take a few quarters?
He did, yeah. He was cautiously optimistic about Clara.ai, but he tied it back to their overall AI investment strategy. They're not just dipping their toes in, they're diving headfirst. They've already launched GPU as a service, which gives businesses the power to run AI applications, and they're developing an AI studio to help developers build and deploy AI solutions.
So, Kalera.ai is just the beginning.
Absolutely. They see AI as a transformative force, impacting almost every part of their business. They're betting big on it, a gamble that could pay off big time. But they're being smart about it, focusing on where AI can deliver the most value.
It sounds like they're playing chess, not checkers, with their AI strategy.
Definitely thinking several moves ahead, and it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
This has been fascinating so far. We've looked at their financials, their strategy, but what about their goals? Didn't they say something about doubling revenue by FY27? That seems incredibly ambitious considering the global economy.
Yeah, super ambitious, especially with all the headwinds they're facing. The CEO mentioned a soft macro environment and, geopolitical uncertainties.
Right, those are terms we hear a lot, but what do they actually mean for a global company trying to grow?
Imagine building a house, but the ground keeps shifting. That's the global economy right now. Tensions between countries, messing with the trade, supply chain problems, making things more expensive and harder to get, economic slowdowns in different places. It makes planning for the future really, really difficult.
So they're trying to build this digital empire on shaky ground.
Exactly. And that's what makes their goal of doubling revenue by FY27 even more impressive. They're not letting these challenges stop them. Instead, they're investing in growth areas like, AI and next-gen connectivity.
Like they're saying, we can't control the ground, but we can control how we build.
I like that analogy. They're focusing on what they can control, and they're being strategic about it.
Okay, but back to AI for a sec.
Yeah.
We talked about Kalera.ai and that whole interaction fabric thing. It's still a little fuzzy for me. Can you, like, paint a clearer picture of how Tata sees AI changing customer interactions?
Okay, say you need to contact your bank. Instead of calling and going through those automated menus, you open their app, start a chat with an AI-powered assistant. This isn't just a basic chatbot. It understands natural language, learns from past interactions, and might even anticipate what you need.
So, a personal AI concierge for your banking, basically.
Exactly. It can answer questions about your balance, help you make transactions, maybe even give personalized financial advice based on, your spending.
That's pretty cool, but wouldn't that lead to job losses? I mean, if AI is handling everything, what happens to the people who used to do those jobs?
That's a valid concern. It comes up a lot when we talk about AI. AI can automate some tasks, but it can also create new opportunities. Think about it. It frees up human workers from those repetitive tasks,
Yeah.
lets them focus on more complex things, stuff that requires creativity and problem solving.
So it's not about replacing humans. It's about making them better, letting them do more valuable work.
Precisely. And in Tata's case, they're using AI to improve the customer experience, not to get rid of human interaction altogether.
Right, finding that balance is key. But going back to their AI strategy, didn't they also launch something called GPU as a service? I'm not even sure what that means.
It sounds complex, but it's pretty straightforward. GPUs, or graphics processing units, are these specialized chips that are really good at handling those complex AI calculations. They're like the engines for AI applications. Traditionally, companies would have to spend a ton of money buying and maintaining their own GPU hardware. But with GPU as service, they can, essentially rent the computing power they need on demand from Tata.
So it's like cloud computing, but for AI.
You got it. It lets companies access that GPU power without the upfront costs and hassle of managing it themselves.
Makes sense. And what about that AI studio they mentioned?
The AI studio is like I don't know, a playground for developers, right?
Yeah.
It's a platform to experiment with AI, build and test apps, even collaborate with other developers. Tata's providing the tools and resources to make creating innovative AI solutions easier.
So they're not just using AI internally, they're helping others innovate with it too.
That's right. Building a foundation for the future of AI and inviting others to build with them.
Bold vision. It's like they're saying AI will be as big as the internet and they want to be leading the charge.
And they're doing it while staying true to their values. Remember, they're deeper with fewer strategy, focusing on select areas where they can really make a difference.
Yeah, that's a good point. They're not trying to do it all, just what they do best.
And they're applying that same philosophy to their AI strategy, not tackling every possible AI application, focusing on areas where they can use their expertise and really benefit their customers.
So it's about being strategic, making sure AI fits into their goals and values.
Exactly. And that leads to, the question of sustainability, something they mentioned a few times in the earnings call.
Mm.
They're not just about profit. They want to make a positive impact.
Right. They talked about Project Nanier, the water conservation project,
Yeah.
and they won that Sustainable Growth Award at the India Mobile Congress.
They're walking the walk when it comes to sustainability. And that really resonates with consumers and investors
Yeah.
who want companies to be ethical and responsible.
It's not just good for the planet, it's good for business too.
Absolutely. Sustainability is a must-have now, not just a nice-to-have.
Okay, so we've covered their financials, their strategy shifts, AI, and their sustainability focus. It's a lot, but I'm curious about one thing. They mentioned their Q3 numbers didn't include TCPSL and NetFoundry because they're selling them off. But isn't that like saying, look how well we're doing, but we won't mention the parts that aren't? Wouldn't a complete picture be better?
I see your point. It's important to remember, though, that those details are available in their full statements. By highlighting the performance of their core business, they're focusing on where they see the most potential for growth.
So it's not about hiding anything, it's about focusing on their strengths.
Exactly. Like a coach putting their strongest players on the field.
Got it. Now, they also talked about simplifying their corporate structure. It sounds like they're doing a lot of restructuring, but I'm not sure I understand why it's so important. Can you explain?
Imagine a big old house, lots of rooms and hallways, Looks impressive from the outside, but it can be inefficient and hard to manage.
Mm.
Rooms not being used, hallways going nowhere, a complicated layout that makes it hard to get around. That's what happens to company structures over time. They get bloated and complex, which slows down decisions and makes adapting to change harder.
So they're decluttering their corporate house to make it more efficient.
You got it. Streamlining operations, improving communication, becoming more agile. It's like getting rid of clutter to create a more spacious and functional environment.
And being agile is like super important in today's world, right?
Absolutely. Adapting quarterly is essential or you get left behind.
So they're not just making changes for the sake of change, but to set themselves up for success.
They're being proactive, not reactive.
Speaking of proactive, we haven't even touched on their global expansion plans. They mentioned targeting Europe, right?
Yes, Europe. Their digital economy is booming, and there's a huge demand for the services Tata provides, especially in cloud and connectivity.
But wouldn't expanding to new markets be risky, especially now?
There are always risks, sure, but they seem to have a plan. They're focusing on markets where they have an advantage and where their services are in demand.
So not just throwing darts at a map, but targeting specific areas.
Exactly. And they're not just testing the waters. They're making serious investments to build a strong presence in those markets.
It's exciting to see them thinking globally, not limiting themselves. But we're running short on time for this segment. We'll have to pick this up in our next segment, delve deeper into their financials, sustainability, maybe even uncover some hidden gems in their filing.
I agree. There's a lot more to unpack.
Don't go anywhere, listeners. We'll be right back with more insights from Tata Communications. Stay tuned. We're back, and we're still digging into Tata Communications. Before the break, we were talking about how they're slimming down, focusing on their core strength, big plans, but also big global challenges, right?
Yeah, for sure. We touched on that whole soft macro environment, the geopolitical uncertainties. But what do those actually mean, for a company like Tata?
Right, because those terms get thrown around a lot. What do they actually mean for a company that's trying to grow and, be innovative and all that?
Well, imagine you're trying to, I don't know, build a house, but the ground keeps shifting. That's kind of what the global economy feels like right now.
Okay, I can see that.
You've got rising tensions between countries, which messes with trade, makes it harder to do business internationally, and then, those supply chain issues, making things more expensive, harder to get, and then economic slowdowns in different parts of the world. All that makes it really tough to plan for the future.
So, like, they're trying to build this digital empire, but on shaky ground.
Exactly. And that's what makes their goal of doubling revenue by FY27, even more impressive. They're not letting these things stop them. They're still pushing forward with those investments, the growth areas like AI and next generation connectivity.
It's almost like they're saying we can't control the ground, but we can control how we build right.
That's a great way to put it, focusing on what they can control.
Okay, back to AI for a second. We were talking about their platform, Kalera.ai, and that whole interaction fabric concept. Still a bit fuzzy for me. How does Tata actually see AI, transforming how we talk to companies?
Okay, picture this. You need to contact your bank. But instead of calling and going through those automated menus, you just open their app or website and start a chat with an AI-powered assistant.
You okay?
But this isn't just a basic chat bot, with canned responses. It's powered by really sophisticated algorithms.
Oh.
It understands what you're saying, it learns from your past interactions, maybe even anticipates what you need.
So like a personal AI concierge for all your banking stuff.
Exactly. It can answer your questions about your balance, help you with transactions, even give you personalized financial advice based on your spending habits.
That sounds amazing. But what about jobs? If AI is doing all this, what happens to the people who used to do those jobs?
Yeah, it's a valid concern. And it comes up a lot, when we talk about AI. It's true. AI can automate tasks, but it can also create new opportunities. Right. Think about it. It frees people up from those repetitive, boring tasks, lets them focus on more complex, more fulfilling roles, stuff that requires, creativity, problem-solving skills. Yeah.
So not replacing people, but like helping them do better, more meaningful work.
Right. And for Tata, it's about enhancing the customer experience, not getting rid of human interaction completely.
Makes sense, yeah. Finding that balance is key. But back to Tata's AI strategy for a sec. Didn't they launch, what was it called, GPU as a service? I'm not even sure I understand what that is.
It sounds complicated, but it's pretty simple. GPUs, those are graphics processing units. They're special computer chips that are really good at handling complex AI calculations. They're the engines that power AI applications. Traditionally, companies would have to spend a lot of money, buy and maintain all that GPU hardware themselves. But with this GPU as a service, they can basically rent the computing power they need from Tata on demand.
So like cloud computing, but for AI.
Exactly. It gives them access to all that power without the upfront costs and all the hassle of managing it themselves.
That makes sense. And didn't they also talk about an AI studio?
Yeah, the AI Studio is like a playground for developers, a platform where they can experiment, build, and test new applications, even collaborate with other developers. Tata's giving them the tools to make it easier to create AI solutions.
So they're not just using AI internally, but they're also helping others innovate with it.
Exactly. Building that foundation for the future of AI.
It's a bold vision. They're betting big on AI.
And they're doing it while staying true to their values. Remember that deeper with fewer strategy we talked about. Focusing on specific areas, making a real difference.
Yeah, they're not trying to do it all, just what they do best.
And they're applying that same thinking to their AI strategy. They're focusing on areas where they have the expertise to create real value for their customers.
So it's not just about chasing the latest AI trends, it's about being strategic.
Exactly. And that brings us to sustainability, which came up a few times during the earnings call. They're not just focused on profit. They want to make a positive impact.
Right. They talked about Project Nanier, their water conservation project, and that award they won, the Sustainable Growth Award at the India Mobile Congress.
They're putting their money where their mouth is when it comes to sustainability, and that really resonates with people who want to see companies operating ethically.
It's not just good for the planet, it's good for business, too.
Absolutely. Sustainability is a must-have now.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Their financials, their strategy, AI, and their sustainability efforts. It's impressive, but I'm still thinking about one thing. They said those Q3 numbers didn't include TCPSL and NetFoundry because they're divesting, right? But isn't that kind of like cherry picking? Wouldn't a complete picture be more helpful?
That's a fair point. But remember, all those details are available in their full financial statements. By highlighting their core business, they're just focusing on where they see the most potential.
So it's more about highlighting their strengths.
Right. Like a coach focusing on their best players.
Got it. They also mentioned simplifying their corporate structure. Sounds like a lot of restructuring, but why is it so important?
Think of it like this. You have a big old house, lots of rooms, hallways, might look impressive, but it can be inefficient.
Yeah.
You might have rooms that aren't being used, hallways that lead nowhere, a layout that's hard to navigate. That's what can happen with company structures. They get bloated and complex, which slows things down and makes it harder to adapt.
So they're basically decluttering, making things more efficient.
Exactly. Streamlining operations, improving communication, becoming more agile.
Being agile is crucial these days, right?
It's essential. If you can't adapt quickly, you fall behind.
So these aren't just random changes, they're strategic moves for long-term success.
Exactly. Being proactive, not reactive.
Speaking of being proactive, we haven't even talked about their global expansion. Didn't they mention targeting Europe?
Yes, Europe is a huge opportunity. Their digital economy is booming. There's a growing demand for, the kinds of services Tata provides, especially in cloud and connectivity.
But wouldn't expanding to new markets be risky, especially in this economic climate?
There are always risks, of course, but they seem to be taking a calculated approach. They're focusing on markets where they see a real opportunity and where their services are in demand.
So not just picking random places, but strategically targeting specific regions.
Exactly. And they're not just dipping their toes in the water. They're making significant investments to build a strong presence there.
It's great to see them thinking globally, but we're running out of time for this segment. We'll have to continue this discussion in our next segment, delve deeper into those financials, their sustainability initiatives, maybe uncover some hidden gems in their filings.
Agreed. Lots more to explore.
Don't go anywhere, listeners. We'll be right back with more insights from Tata Communications. We're back for the final part of our deep dive into Tata Communications. We've covered a lot, from their financials to their, AI plans and sustainability efforts. But before we wrap up, I want to go back to their financial statements for a second. See if we can find any, hidden clues. I was looking through their filings, and something caught my eye. They're putting a lot of money into their subsidiary in the Netherlands. Tata Communications Netherlands BV. What's that about?
Ah, you've spotted a key piece of their restructuring plan. They're bringing TC Netherlands under direct ownership of Tata Communications Ltd in India.
Sounds complicated. What's the point of all that?
It's all about simplification, really, and strategic positioning, I guess. By bringing TC Netherlands under their direct control, they're streamlining their structure, which can speed up decision-making and, make things more efficient. But maybe even more important, it sets them up for potential acquisitions in Europe. It's like creating this unified, agile platform for growth in the region.
So they're not just thinking about today. They're setting themselves up for future expansion. Europe makes sense, with their ambitious revenue goals. They'll need to tap into new markets to hit those numbers.
Absolutely. And Europe's a prime target. Their digital economy is strong. Demand for cloud and connectivity services is growing. Lots of opportunity there.
It's like they're preparing for a European invasion, but in a good way, of course. Building bridges, not burning them. This restructuring could be a big part of their global growth strategy. It all seems to be coming together, streamlining their operations, boosting those financials, investing in future tech like AI, and getting ready for global expansion.
It's a complex strategy for sure, but it seems well thought out. They're not just following trends, they're making their own path.
It's really impressive to see a company with such a long history embracing, change and innovation like this. They're not just sticking with what they know. They're reinventing themselves for the digital age.
Yeah, it shows real leadership. They get it. To succeed today, you need to be adaptable, innovative, and willing to, take some risks.
And they're definitely not afraid of taking risks. We've seen that with, their AI investments, their expansion plans, even their decision to, sell off those non-core businesses.
But those risks are calculated, strategic. They've clearly done their homework. They have a vision, and they're committed to making it happen.
So, final question. Will Tata Communications reach their goals?
Well, predicting the future is tricky, right? But looking at everything, they're on a good path. Strong foundation, clear vision, and they're adapting to this crazy digital world we live in.
And they're doing it all while, being sustainable and socially responsible. They understand it's not just about profit anymore. It's about making a positive impact.
Totally. They're showing the world you can be profitable and purpose-driven. Innovate and protect the planet, empower communities.
Their story is inspiring, really. It's a reminder that we can create a better future through innovation, collaboration, and just a commitment to doing good for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's been a really interesting deep dive.
Totally agree. We've uncovered so much about Tata Communications, their decisions, their performance, and their vision for the future.
And for you, our listener, this is just the beginning. Keep following their journey. See how their story unfolds.
It's a story that could change the digital economy as we know it. So keep your eyes on Tata Communications. They're a company to watch.
And that brings our deep dive to a close. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep asking those tough questions.
Because in a world full of information, it's the deep dives that matter.